Hi guys, what's up and welcome back. For today's video, I'm feeling so preppy, like, you know, with this and this. I feel like I'm a teacher, you know what I mean? It's giving me good vibes though. Anyway, so for today's video, I wanted to share with you guys my 2017 favorite eyeshadows, basically eyeshadows that stood out to me the most, eyeshadow palettes basically, and that I absolutely love, I adore, and I recommend 1,000,000%. And then I want to share with you guys a few eyeshadow palettes that were just kind of like a huge fail for me personally. I felt like this video would be nice to do because I'm always talking about products that I really like, but then I figured, you know, 2017 just passed, let's talk about the good and the bad, like why not? So there are basically 5 different eyeshadow palettes that I have here that I love, and then there are 2 that I don't want to show you now that really were a huge fail for me. So how I'm going to do this video is I will talk about the good and then some of the bad, then good, then bad, then good, then bad. So let's get started. Most of these palettes did release in 2017. However, I think that there are 1 or 2 palettes that, actually only 1 palette that was released a while back, but I still loved it a ton this past year. And even if it wasn't released this past year, I know I got a ton of use out of it and I wanted to mention it to you guys. So my ultimate favorite eyeshadow palette that might come as a surprise to many of you guys because I used to speak about it a lot like during the summertime. I love this eyeshadow palette. This is the Urban Decay Naked Heat eyeshadow palette, and then once you open it up, you guys can see, oh, it's so dirty, I don't want to get all dirty now, but anyways, this is how all these shadows look that are included in here. You are getting 12 different eyeshadows with a range of different finishes. Now, the quality of these shadows is not anything too spectacular or special. It's not like when you touch it, you're like, oh my god, that's like the softest thing alive. No, it's not the case with these shadows. The reason why I actually love this palette is, first of all, for the reason that this is a beautiful warm tone palette and I can create really beautiful, like fiery kind of looks, and I'm about that kind of life at times. You know, I like cool toned looks, but then I really love warm tone looks, and this palette definitely provides that for me. But the reason why I also love this palette is because of the formula. A lot of people hate the Urban Decay Naked formula, and I'm not going to say that all of them are the best formula. Like the Urban Decay Smoky palette was purified crap. I already declared that ages ago, but the reason why I love this palette, besides for the color selection that's included in here, is because I love the fact that it's a bit more drier in consistency. Like, not in a bad way or anything, but I just feel like when I blend these out, they just blend perfectly. Like, exactly where I put it, that's where they blend out to. There's no like fallout, there's no like dustiness, there's no nothing like that. So sometimes I'm in the mood of playing with such shadows because it's kind of different, and sometimes I want to spice things up and switch it up. So that's the reason why I really love this. I love to create faux freckles with this as well. Like, they have the perfect tones in here. And I'm just about it, 1,000,000%. I'm obsessed. So let me go ahead and give you guys swatches of all these shades that are included in here. Oh, and before I show you guys the swatches, I did want to tell you that every single time I wore this palette, like every time non-stop, you guys always gave me compliments on my eye look. And at times I was like, really? It's like the simplest thing ever, but you guys loved it. So that's to show you how amazing this palette is and how many beautiful looks it could actually create. So here's how these swatches of the palette looks. As you guys can see, it ranges from a nice selection of warm toned shades. I love this. Like, literally there are no words, and I really like that there's a setting shade as well because it makes things so much easier. So that's the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. I love it. All right, moving on, I'm going to share with you guys one more favorite, and then we'll do like the back and forth with like the bad and then the good. Okay, the next palette that I enjoyed a ton this past year is the Femme Rosa Carucci and Colorpop She Palette. So I did a review and I think a tutorial using this palette, and this is how the inside looks. Super beautiful. The reason why I really enjoyed this palette is because these are such nice rosy tone shades. You have your nice selection of like highlighted shades over here, but then your nice like plummy color and then a burgundy color as well. Like, I don't know, for some reason it doesn't look too special in the pan, but every time I use this on my eyes, again, I always get so many compliments from you guys, and these are so easy to work with. I feel like with Colourpop's palettes, some of them could be a miss, but this one is definitely not. These shadows in here are super nice and very, very creamy, and it's just very easy to work with. Like, you could just throw 1 or 2 shades on and you look bomb. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of palette this is. So this palette did release this year, I think towards like the summertime, and again, with this palette, I used it like non-stop when it released, like the first 2 months, and then so many other palettes came out, so it kind of fell on the back burner, but it still holds a very special place in my heart because it's amazing. It really is beautiful. Before I show you guys these swatches, I did want to mention that this is probably my favorite Colourpop eyeshadow palette. I like it more than the Kathleen Lights palette. I like it more than the Cute AF palette. This is just so my style and my vibe, and I could totally get down with this. There's a nice selection of finishes in here as well. You have a nice selection of mattes and then a nice selection of like metallic-y type of shades. A really nice contrast between all of the colors, and I'm telling you, this is like $1 million palette for me. I'm obsessed with it. Here's how the eyeshadows look once they're swatched. You guys can see like the first few are definitely very light in tone, but it's great to use as a facial highlighter, or you can use it you know, for the eye area as well. And then the bottom few are a bit deeper in tone, and they're super beautiful to apply on the actual lids, on the lower lash line. They blend like a dream. Barely any fallout, just literally my child. I love it. Moving on to the next palette that I have to share with you guys. This palette was a definite fail for me. Don't get mixed up. This is not one of my favorites. I absolutely despise this palette. I don't hate it, but I just really despise it because it's such an annoying palette to work with. And I don't know, I was just not feeling it. I used it so many times and my eye look always came out like shit. And I was like, is it me? Or is it the palette? And I know sometimes it's me, which is fine. But with this, I don't know. I'm blaming the palette. Don't take this to offense if you guys do like this, but I do not like this palette. It is, first of all, the colors are stunning. That's for sure. That's why I picked it up, because I'm like, oh my god, these would look so amazing on the eyes. But once they're applied, they get super, super messy. It's very flaky, like very powdery. And it's really not a breeze to work with. Like, I don't mind spending time with my eyeshadow if I know it's gonna come out nice. But if I spend 30 minutes on my eye look and then it comes out like an ass wipe, it's like, are you kidding me? It's annoying. It's like a waste of my time. You know what I'm saying? And I've done that so much with this palette. I think I've used it probably like over 10, 15 times. Every time I use it, I'm like, okay, let me give it a chance again and again and again. And it always came out looking like crap. Wished for this to work for me, but I'm like, no, I don't even want to see this anymore. It was a pity because it was so expensive. And by the time I wanted to return it already, I was like, whatever, I'm like 60 days already past the date to return. So I'm like, screw it. But I do enjoy a lot of other ABH palettes. However, just this one was not my style. And I just feel like the formula was really, really bad. Like, the ABH Prism palette is 30 billion times better than this one. And I'm not about this. So let me give you guys swatches anyways, so you guys can see the beautiful tones in here. But I wish they would work. Like, I'm swatching this and I'm like, what the hell? There's nothing even coming on here. Are you kidding me? So here's how the ABH Subculture palette looks. Beautiful shades, like I've said probably 10,000 times. But they just don't work well on their own or together. It creates a really big mess, and I'm just not about this life. I don't know. I wish, but no. Okay, moving on to the next eyeshadow palette that I absolutely fell in love with this year, and it did release this year as well, is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes eyeshadow palette. Now, this basically includes 12 different matte eyeshadows ranging from peachy tones to shades that you can set your crease with, your lids with, and then beautiful brown shades as well. This is the epitome of like perfection for me in regards to transition shades, because sometimes certain palettes have transition shades and they just don't suit my skin tone well, so I'm like not about that. Or there are certain palettes that I like to use that don't have any matte shades, only like metallic and shimmer shades, and this is something that I would pull out with those palettes to create a nice look, because you have everything you would need in here for the crease. I used to never wear like crease eyeshadow like back in the day. I didn't even know what the hell that was, but this is like everyone's dream, I feel like, because it's perfect shades to put in the crease, and it just kind of creates a really nice like radiant effect. It's just super beautiful. I love the texture of these. They're really nice and soft. There's barely any kick up or fallout, and they just perform really, really nicely. I'm very impressed with this. Also, this is the kind of palette that I would use 2 shades from and call it a day, because it's such an easy palette to work with. You just throw it in there and it looks good. You don't even blend it out. Just put it on there and you can go out the door, you know, because it looks so nice and it performs so well. Let me go ahead and give you guys swatches. Here's how all these shades look in the Just Peachy Mattes palette. You guys can see a really nice selection of mattes, and as much as these shades kind of look kind of maybe a little bit similar in the pans, you guys can see as they're swatched, they are different. They have different undertones, but they pair so well and work hand in hand together, and that's why this palette is a winner for me. I love it. Right, the next palette that I have to share with you guys, I love, 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 love. It is so good. So this palette did not release this year. I think it released last year, but I've used it so many times this year. I'm surprised it didn't hit pan on any of these shades. But this is the NYX Ultimate Brights eyeshadow palette. This is fairly affordable. It is from the drugstore. I like to purchase mine from Ulta. And as you guys can see from here, you get a nice selection of like red, pinky shades, greens, yellows, purples, blues, a little bit of everything, but like the best tone of everything, if that makes sense. You basically get mattes in here, but then you get a few shades that have little specks of glitter, but the glitter barely translates on the eye. So I kind of consider this palette an all matte palette, at least for me. Now, the reason why I love this is because this is kind of in the same category as like the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. The shadows in here are not creamy, crazy smooth, but they work so nicely. They definitely have a little bit of like dryness to them, not in a bad way, but in such a good way, if anything, because they apply so nicely on the eye. Every single time I use this, I'm always happy with the look. There are certain times that I use palettes that I really do enjoy, but sometimes the looks don't come out good. It just doesn't work well. It just sometimes I struggle, you know. But with this palette, no struggling at all. Every time I use this, I love the look I create, and I love that there's a little bit of everything because it's not an overwhelming palette to work with. You know, sometimes with like bright palettes, it's like, first of all, it's bright, so it's kind of like whoa already. But then if you have like a huge bright palette, it's like, okay, where the hell do I begin? At least for me, I get overwhelmed sometimes. But with this palette, it's not overwhelming because it's so small. I think it includes 20 different eyeshadows. It's compact. It's great for traveling, and I adore this. If you're looking for a great bright palette and you want to kind of see like what colorful eyeshadow looks great on you, then this is a great one to pick up. I've used that a million times this year, I'm telling you. I haven't used it again a lot this past few months because it's kind of like the winter time and the fall time, but I'm telling you, in the summer, that's my jam. So this is how the shades in the NYX Brights palette looks once they're swatched. I feel like these swatches don't do this palette justice, but I'm telling you guys, please listen to me. If you want to get a beautiful Brights palette, this will be your answer. It is stunning beyond words. So now moving on to the eyeshadow that was a fail for me, capitalized letters. Now, I want to just preface by saying that this brand is amazing. You guys know I always do reviews on this brand's products. I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But for some reason, this palette just did not work for me. I honestly think it was a waste of money. It actually went on sale at Sephora as well. And when it went on sale, I was not surprised to see that it was on sale because I'm like, okay, this palette should probably be 50 cents. Like, no offense if you guys like it, but for me, I'm kind of like, what the hell is this? You know, so what I'm talking about is the Colourpop Golden State of Mind eyeshadow palette. This was the first eyeshadow palette that released the Sephora site, and it literally blew up the entire internet. Everyone was so excited, and including myself. Once I purchased it and I received it, I played around with it a little bit. I didn't realize how like crappy it was. But 1 second. Oh man, I think that it's having some discoloration over here. Like some oils are like seeping through. Okay, let me show you guys in a moment. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like around this shadow and around this shadow, you guys can see like a little bit of oil or something. And around these two shadows as well. Hopefully you could see, which is, yeah, you guys can see, I could see it right here. What the hell is that? I know that something like this happened to the ABH Nicole Guerrero highlighter palette, so maybe it's kind of in the same boat, but I didn't even realize till now because I didn't touch it for a while because of the reason that it sucks. But I don't know, every time I used this eyeshadow palette, first of all, fallout galore, like literally snow all over my face when I used this like lightest shade and then this one, which was the two shades that I really got attracted to. There are no mattes in here, which is fine. I don't mind pulling out different eyeshadows to create a look with this, but if this is just gonna not perform well, it's kind of like a waste of my time, you know what I'm saying? So most of the shades in here are like loose metallic-y shadows, and you have to kind of use most of these wet, otherwise it's gonna be a nightmare. Also, when you swatch it, it's super flaky and just, I don't know, it's such a pity because these shades are beautiful. Like, come on, isn't this pretty? It does not look good on the eyes. It does not look good. I mean, look, you could make this work at the end of the day, but you will have to put a ton of effort, and the look doesn't even come out as good as you assumed, or as I assumed when I applied it on my eyes. So for me, this palette was a bit of a waste of time, a waste of money, and kind of makes me sad because Colourpop usually does release really nice palettes. I'm not sure if they just released this fast to like release to Sephora, but I feel like if you have a reputation, work on something 10 times over and over and over again, have a million people test it out and then release it, because, you know, we're expecting good, but then when we get this, it's kind of like, what? Did anyone even use this palette when you guys like made it? I don't know. Alright, so here's how these swatches look of the Colourpop Golden State of Mind eyeshadow palette. Again, like I said, really beautiful shades, but unfortunately they don't perform as well as they look, which is kind of sad. But the shades are so nice. I love them, but I don't at the same time, you know? The fifth and wonderful eyeshadow palette that really stood out to me, even though it did release probably a month ago. It's a palette that's super gorgeous and a palette that literally speaks for its own. I don't even need to say anything. I've mentioned it quite a few times already on my channel, so I'm not gonna go too in depth about it, but you guys already know. It's just so good. It's just so good. First of all, the packaging, stunning, beautiful. I love like the splatter of gold. It's just really nice. I smell the cocoa smell from this palette even when it's closed, which is so nice. But then once you open it up, it's like bam, you know? This is how all these shades look on the inside. In here you are getting 4 matte shades, and then you get, I believe, 12 different metallic shades. If you guys look at this side of the palette, it's definitely more neutral, and then this side of the palette is definitely more brighter, and that's why I feel like this palette would be great to wear on a daily basis, or you can wear it like for fun nights out if you choose to do so. I love the fact that they put 4 matte shades in here because they're the perfect transition shades. So what I find with this palette is I don't necessarily have to pull out any other eyeshadow palette to create a look with this palette because it has pretty much everything that I would need. Like here you have the perfect lid setting shade, then right here you have a nice light gorgeous transition shade, like the first initial shade you would go in with, and then you have this one right here which is like a deeper cocoa color, and then you can use the black in the crease as well, and then pop any of these metallic shades on the lid and call it a day. I love the formula of this because it's super nice and very easy to work with. There's barely any kick up or fallout, and literally this is the epitome of perfection from Too Faced. Thank you for releasing something that is gold, like literally gold. All right, and then here's a close-up of how all these shades swatch in the Too Faced Chocolate Gold Bar palette. This was basically with one swipe, so you guys can see super nice and intense, and the way they look on the arm and in the palette, that's how amazing they look on the eyes. So Too Faced did release this palette at a perfect time because it was a perfect ending to 2017. I love it. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. Those were my favorites for the year and then my few disappointments for the year in regards to eyeshadow palettes. I would absolutely love to know what your favorite eyeshadow palettes were this year, and then what palettes disappointed you this year. Stay tuned for my other videos because I'm going to be doing the best of 2017 in the next few days, but I hope you guys enjoyed this and found it helpful and entertaining, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.